I'm 3 months postpartum from my second all-natural birth, and this birth was pretty interesting. First of all, I didn't even know I was in labor, to be honest. With my first baby, my water had broken, so I had the very obvious sign that I was truly in labor. But I also had pre-labor, or what's called false labor, with my first baby. So on her due date, my contractions started and I thought I was in labor, but then they stopped and I didn't actually go into labor until about 2 days later. So when my water had broken with my first baby, that's when my contractions started getting consistent and I was able to do the 5-1-1 or 4-1-1, which is contractions that are 5 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute each for an hour. So with my first baby, I was able to arrive to the hospital at a decent time. When I arrived to the hospital, I was dilated to like a 5 or 6. They checked me into triage, and then I was booked into a room. I was able to shower and get my gown on and labor there until she was ready to be born, maybe about 10 hours later. I had a water birth with my first one, so they had plenty of time to blow up the pool and get me situated in the pool. Also, with my first baby, I didn't know what pushing felt like, so I probably could have pushed her out earlier, but I didn't know when I was ready. So that labor was completely different from this labor. With this labor, my water did not break until the very last minute. So the day that I actually was in labor, without me knowing that I was in labor, my contractions were not really consistent. I could not get a consistent 4-1-1 or 5-1-1. My contractions would be sometimes 6 minutes apart, lasting 1 minute. Maybe they were 15 minutes apart, lasting 30 seconds. Like, they were all over the place, but my water had not broken. So I was thinking, okay, maybe this is that false pre-labor again. I was so wrong. But I still felt like, okay, maybe labor will be starting soon. We were still a week away from my actual due date. So that morning, I told my husband, I was like, go ahead and go to work. If something changes, I will let you know. So that whole day, I just felt this urgent pressure to just get all last minute items ready that were not ready yet. I'm cleaning, I'm wiping things down, I'm making sure everything is pristine and clean just in case this baby decides to come this weekend. I couldn't even finish the job, y'all. I was like exhausted. I had to let my husband take over. But then when my husband came home from work, I let him know and he took over and cleaned everything that I didn't finish cleaning and prepared everything, got everything in the car that wasn't already in the car. Last minute grabs. And my contractions, they were getting a little bit closer together, but not to where they were still very consistent. They were still very inconsistent, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes apart. So fast forward to midnight, I decided I tried to go to sleep. So I went to go lay down for the night and was just going to see if they were going to calm down or stop. They never did. So that's when I started timing them because they were starting to get a little bit more intense. The pain was a little bit more intense. I use the gentle birth contraction timers because they use a meditation affirmation style birthing encouragement to help you breathe through and get through the contractions. And then it also collects all of your data and information that you input into it to give you an average of where you stand and tells you exactly when you should head to the hospital. My contractions were too inconsistent. I never got told to go to the hospital. But based off of the pain that I was feeling, I felt like it was going to be time soon. So I told my husband around 3-something a.m. that I was ready to go to the hospital. But I didn't want to get there and to be turned away because, if you're not dilated to a certain amount and your water is not broken, you don't get checked in. And I didn't want that because the hospital that I wanted to give birth at was about 40 minutes from where I lived. So yeah, I wanted to be sure. So we drove to the hospital and we were low on gas, and my husband asked me, he was like, oh, do you want me to just go straight to the hospital or do you think we should stop for gas? I told this man to stop for gas. So we're at the gas station right around the corner from the hospital, filling up gas. Then after we fill up gas, we go to the parking lot of the hospital and we sit in the parking lot, and I'm like, okay, let me sit in the parking lot and wait for these contractions to be more consistent. Then it starts to rain, and we see on the weather app that it's about to start pouring raining, like thunderstorm raining. And we had about 30 minutes to get inside before this rain started raining for real. So at that point, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and get in, because the last thing I need is to be slipping and sliding around in this parking lot trying to get inside this hospital in the middle of labor when I already can barely walk. So we go in, check into triage. They roll me in on a wheelchair because at this point, every time I would start walking, I would have contractions. So they asked me general questions like, is this your first birth? No. Did your water break? No. How far apart are your contractions? What are your contractions like? Rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. I told them that my contractions were about 5 minutes apart, but sometimes I had outliers, and that every time I tried to walk, I would have contractions, and that the intensity was about a 7. So when they got all that information, they started kind of moving a little expeditiously. And I was confused. I'm like, why are they acting weird? So the triage nurse that was checking me in was just confirming. She was like, so your water has not broken and this is not your first baby. So we're going to go ahead and get you checked into a room and get you in a gown, and then we'll check your dilation. So I was like, oh, that's different. That's not, how it usually goes. Usually they check me in this triage room and then they confirm whether you stay or not. But they immediately want to get me in a room. I was like, okay, maybe the hospital's empty today. We get in the room and they're kind of like moving with urgency, and I was just so confused like why they were moving that way. So I told them I had my own labor gown and sent my husband to go to the car to get my bag so that I could put on my gown. I'm making plans to take a shower. I'm making plans to file my nails down because my nails look crazy. So my husband comes back with the bags and I immediately start filing my nails. Pulled out my gown, pulled out all my shower gear, because I'm preparing to take a shower and get ready for this baby because I think I got time. But they're running in and out of this room with urgency, and I just felt so rushed. I was like, what is going on? So I'm like, okay, let me just go ahead and put this gown on first and take a shower after I put my gown on so that they can check me and leave me alone. So I get the gown on, and then this doctor checks me. Tell me why I was dilated to a 9. You're ready to push when you reach 10. The midwife tells me as soon as my water breaks, this baby is coming out immediately. So this lady don't even leave the room. She just sits there with her legs crossed, with her hands on her knees, just patiently waiting, just rocking back and forth, like just waiting for my water to break. I was in shock. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I could have had this baby in the parking lot. I could have had this baby at the gas station. I could have had this baby at the house. Like, I had no idea. I was in shock. So now I'm urgently filing my nails because I'm like, okay, this baby's about to come. I need to hurry up. I didn't get to take my shower like I wanted to, but I got up and went to go pee. And then once I came back to sit down, I was having a pretty bad contraction, and my husband did counter pressure on me, and I think he did it a little bit wrong, and I think he popped my labor from the outside. And right after that, they were like, all right, up onto the bed, get into a comfortable position because you're going to be ready to push. And they were right. I decided to do the kneeling position, like where I was on my knees, and then I was leaning up against the back of the bed where it was sitting upright so that gravity would work with me to help get the baby out. Because, mind you, I'm not using any epidural or any hindrance at this point. So about an hour after checking into the hospital, my water broke. 20 minutes after my water breaking, the baby was born. That was the craziest experience. I literally had no idea. You always hear those stories about people having babies in parking lots and in cars and in triage, and I just never knew that could have potentially been me. And I was encouraging it to happen because I'm just lollygagging and chilling because I really had no idea how far along I was. Long story short, if your water hasn't broken, you could be a lot further along in labor than you think.